Marx was a critic. And how successful was he as a critic? I don't know. Let's see. He writes, he stops writing, he dies in 1883. What's it, 150 years ago, not even. In that period of time, 150 years, not very long, human history. In 150 years, his ideas have spread to every single country on the face of this earth. Every country has Marxist study groups, Marxist political parties, and or Marxist unions, and or Marxist governments. But the spread of Marxism is staggeringly successful. It spread further, faster than Christianity did, or than Islam did. So if you're comparing it to global movements, whoa! All these people found something in Marxism that excited them, made them study it, made them teach it, made them publish in it. The literature on Marxism is vast and in every language. So it's a very powerful global movement. And it came to the United States too, particularly towards the middle and end of the 19th century. It came with immigrants who had encountered it in Europe and brought it with them. And it came in the form of literature and individuals who came to this country and who knew that and who spread it. And it took root here. It influenced many people, some who understood it and admitted it and were proud of it. Many more who didn't understand where their ideas came from, but they came from Marxism. And Marxism was widely studied, first at the turn of the century, then again in the 1930s because of the Great Depression, it made a lot of people interested. Then again in the 1960s with the upsurge of a critical movement around the Vietnam War. And now again, in the wake of the 2008 crash, suddenly people are discovering again. But they have to rediscover it in America because it has been smashed in America. It's very important that you understand that. The smashing of Marxism was a deliberate effort to stop that criticism from taking root here. The first time it tried was in 1916. The Socialist Party of the United States, which had existed a while, ran a man for president. Ran for president. He did pretty well. Got 300,000 or 400,000 votes, about 3% of the vote. That was thought to be a pretty good start. So 4 years later, 1920, they ran another person, whose name you probably have heard, Eugene Victor Debs. Mr. Debs. He doubled the vote, got around 900,000 votes, but by that time, that was about 4%. Okay, that's a steady growth. Next, 1924. Well, something happened between 20 and 24. The American business community got scared. They understood. Socialist, office, running, winning votes. Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Socialists were running and winning, by the way, all over the United States. The state in the United States that had the most socialists in the state legislature, I usually take time, I don't have it tonight, to ask people to guess which of the 48 then states voted the most number of socialists into their state legislature. You'll never guess. Answer, Oklahoma. Think about it. Oklahoma. Bridgeport, Connecticut, not very far from here, had a socialist mayor for decades. All over the place. Milwaukee, famous for a socialist mayor. And on and on and on. But the government came down. There were the famous Palmer raids in Boston and elsewhere. The government of the United States began arresting anybody who said they were a socialist. The 1920s were the era of Sacco and Vanzetti. Some of you know American history, the history of the persecution of these people. It was older than that, but it got really going. So in 1924, the socialists ran a candidate. They wanted to get more votes, but this time they didn't call him a socialist because that was no longer safe. They called him a progressive party. A man from Wisconsin named Robert La Follette. Robert La Follette. And he got 5 million votes. At which point it became necessary to crush this thing, which they set out to do. They set it out because by this time they also had another scare, the Soviet Revolution of 1917, which showed where this could go. So you better crush it earlier. Unfortunately, the program to crush, which got really going in the 1920s, took a hit in 1929 with the Great Depression. It turned out not to be a good thing for crushing Marxism and socialism because everybody was unemployed. And so Marxism kind of came back with a vengeance. And people called themselves that. The 1930s, you had 3 powerful political parties in the United States advocating more or less Marxism. The Communist Party of the United States, very strong. The Socialist Workers' Party, a Trotskyist socialist party, and the Socialist Party, the leftover one from before. 2 socialist and 1 communist party, who worked together with the CIO to make the New Deal, to make the thing that wasn't green yet. But the model for the Green New Deal was then. And when then the war with Hitler comes about, the United States takes the next step of a scary embrace of Marxism. It becomes allied with the Soviet Union in fighting Hitler, which makes an official partnership between American capitalism and Soviet, whatever you want to call that. So that the post offices across America had a big picture above the window where you buy your stamps. And there was Uncle Sam, arm in arm with Uncle Joe, for Joseph Stalin, who was our buddy, our bosom buddy. He was in the post office, in every post office. By the end of the war, the American business community was apoplectic. The attempt to crush in the 20s had been first postponed and then lost sight of. Marxist, socialist, communists were everywhere, and it needed a crusade to get rid of them. McCarthyism. The last half century is a half century lost in this country for Marxism. Everybody who had anything to do with Marxism forgot about it. To make sure you understood it, they arrested the leaders of the Communist Party and deported them or imprisoned them. And everybody else was scared to death.